Macmillan Audio presents The Mayflower, The Families, The Voyage, and the Founding of America by Rebecca Fraser. Read for you by Kate Redding. Prologue. 1676. On 12 August 1676, as dawn revealed the dark pine trees and low shores of Rhode Island, the rising sun also lit up the dome-shaped rock called Mount Hope. From the ledge where his men had pitched camp for the night, the chief of the Wampanoag tribe, whom the English called King Philip, looked down and prepared to flee. He and his braves were completely surrounded by English soldiers. 60 years earlier, before the coming of the Mayflower, Philip's father's land stretched to Cape Cod, but by 1676, Mount Hope was his son's last remaining stronghold. The Indians had been so successful at evading the English that Philip was convinced they were secure in this most secret home territory. He had not bargained for the tracking skills of Colonel Benjamin Church, the commander of the English, who was using Indian scouts to supplement the colonists' woodcraft. Philip had escaped too often, and Church was determined to trap him. In the duel of wits that had been going on for the past month, Church made careful mental notes of Philip's way of operating. One of Philip's men going out to relieve himself in the early morning had been shot at. Now gunfire was ricocheting wildly up the rock. As the Indians returned fire, Philip threw off his meal satchel, cloak, jewelry, and powder horn, which would weigh him down. Gun in hand, he started to leap through the wood into the swamp. The English were wary of swamps because they were so difficult to navigate. Philip had a good chance of escaping through its dark recesses, as he had in the past. Perhaps, though, he no longer cared very much what became of him. The fight had gone out of him after the English had caught his wife and treasured 9-year-old son. Clergymen in Boston were now debating bringing biblical precedent to bear on whether it was right to hang this boy, the child of a rebel, or sell him into slavery. Chapter 1. Droitwich. There was nothing in the annals of family history to suggest that Edward Winslow, and eventually his younger brothers, would migrate to live in a religious colony 3,000 miles away. Everything about his early life seemed comprehensively tied down by the entangling webs of tradition and desire for worldly position. His father, also called Edward, was an aspiring merchant in the prosperous Midlands market town of Droitwich. Edward Sr. dealt in grain and peas, had an interest in the salt business, and travelled for work, mainly to Bristol, sometimes to London for a court case or to hand over clients' moneys. He was in effect a paralegal or legal executive, someone with a knowledge of the law, but not sufficiently well educated to have been qualified, and seems to have been an unofficial notary or person of standing in the community who could be relied on for witnessing legal documents. He mingled with the elite who ran the town. Though regarded as a decent and reliable chap, he was not quite one of them. He and his wife Magdalen were always scraping by, though she was of gentle birth, and the Winslows themselves had seen better days. To her chagrin, he never owned his own house. They moved home several times over 25 years. Sometimes they lived pleasantly in the sort of cosy 16th-century salt merchant's house, which today is still seen in Droitwich High Street. At other times, as business went...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?